Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join the panel, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Sleeping Warrior, Spurs Chemo, and Ruhif. So how we are, let's pick Ruhif. How you doing, Ruhif? Good to have you first and foremost. Maybe
well, I'll do it instead.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe you Spurs. Or you, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm here. All is well. Liverpool won last night 3-0 against Man City at Anfield in the first leg of the quarterfinals of the Champions League, so I'm in a good mood. Hey!
Excellent. Everybody really cares about the foosball. So can you hear us, Spurs?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay? We'll try Ranty and then we'll go back to Ruhif. Hopefully he'll jump off mute. How you doing, Ranty? Good to have you.
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks.
And last but not least, how you doing, Ruhif? Can you hear us? No. Well, hopefully we'll get Ruhif back at some stage. Well, good to be on the air.
So, good morning, Spurs Chemo. I speak in my lowest possible voice when I'm doing my videos. I sound like a Max murderer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the microphone that when the editing have, it's not down to me.
You don't sound like that. If I watched that video, right, and then I got to speak to you in real life, like I'd be like, that's not Spurs Chemo. The two voices are completely different.
When they in America they do the trailer like, now we're gonna begin. Something like this, yeah, something like that. But what did you think? What did you think? Anyway, I mean,
it was a time of war.
I thought I was scared by the tone in your voice, if I'm honest.
Okay.
You'd never make a children's book reader, put it that way.
Well, look, I've kind of got to give the ballers for pushing this video. They the way they would say things. Oh, the math doesn't work. The globe math doesn't work on the flat Earth, and so in my mind, when they would say this, I was thinking, well, it doesn't mean that it's a ball. It just means that we just don't understand it. But for them, it was no. It's a ball. The math doesn't work. You can't work it out. And it seemed almost like they were happy, celebrating that it was never going to be worked out. So this got me thinking: what's the problem? Why can't we work out this flat Earth model? Because I was saying we're never going to have a flat Earth model. But it looks like the ancients or the people in the past, they were using a flat Earth model. They had a model. They were able to predict the stars, the movements, the sun, the moon, everything that the ball earthers are asking for in terms of predictions. The flat Earth model was able to do that. But the only problem is that we don't have the mass for it. We don't, that is probably one of the biggest problems here. So as I said in the video, they're offering a reward of $1 million to work out calculation sums. So this sparked of a conversation about, well, what are they using the math for? What are they trying to find out? What are they trying to work out? Some people were saying that they're trying to find out the equation for time travel. We don't know. I'm not saying that it is for that, but we don't know. Why would somebody want to pay you $1 million to work something out? So yeah, just things like that. So if we could work out the math that they were using before Well, when they were building these structures, I call them stone observatories, because they're all over the world. We have one in, as in Stonehenge. Okay. I was speaking with Paul Voigt, and I was saying, oh, I'm sure there's one in Australia. Like, I'm sure there is. And he's like, oh, how do you know there's one in there? Are you sure? Where is it? He's never seen it, never heard of it. So we Googled it, Australian Stonehenge, and lo and behold, it was there. So yeah, these monuments all over the world, everywhere, will tell you that you're on a flat Earth, because they would have had to have been able to map the stars and make predictions. That's what it's about, right? These ballers want predictions with eclipses. It's there. We have the model is there. It's not just literally a map. So I don't know if you want to play it or if you just want to link people. We can discuss it afterwards, but I don't want to drone on too long.
Did you watch Patricia last night by any chance?
I saw the beginning of it.
Because everyone was talking about Bilu in chat, but Bilu was the mascot at Anfield last night. If you look at the replay, you can see Bilu come out as the club mascot at the beginning of the game. Everybody loves Bilu.
Okay, no, yeah, well.
So the other thing was, so are you asking us to play the whole clip, the whole video?
Well, no, it's entirely up to you. I mean, not just you can play it towards the end of the show where after you've discussed it. The point is, what I'm trying to stress is that if the flat earthers are trying to make a model using the ballers seem to know the math won't work for what we're using now. This current math, it won't work. Whatever math they were using for making observations years ago, that's what we need to work on. So it is possible now, I think, a model, but not with the math that they've given us. It's very limited, I would say.
Okay.
I've mirrored your video. I'll stick a link in the info box and maybe in one of the comments after the video is rendered, Spurs, so people will get to click on it and see it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's good.
But check it out on Spurs Chemo's channel. Go and subscribe to him if you've not done so already. There's a link to it on the mirror that I put up yesterday.
Marvellous.
The other one that's worth a shout out is Haunted House. He had a new channel started because he got porn bombed, or something of that nature. I can't remember exactly what. So Haunted House, look him up as well. He's worth a sub too because he's quite cool. I think Ruben's got some evidence of curvature he wants to mention. Or maybe he's not back yet. Okay, maybe he's not back. Well, okay, so whilst he's not there, what about Ranty's bought some new hardware? Yay! He's getting into the 21st century.
Dragging me into it more like.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, we had a whole dedicated section on yesterday's show to 1980s hardware as a consequence of you getting a bit of new equipment, Ranty. So
1980s as well.
Talking about Commodore Amigas and BBC Masters and having kilobytes of RAM.
Yeah. No, Spectrum 28K.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it feels like we're talking to when I'm talking to you about computers and stuff.
As long as it turns on, that'll do me.
Yeah, there was some good YouTubing on yesterday. Infinite Plane Society was streaming. Patricia was streaming. It's good stuff.
It was.
It's like buses.
Through my Facebook feed.
You hang around for a live stream and then two come along at once.
Is ISA doing more live streams as well?
Yeah, Isa's been doing a few more live streams. He started about a week ago. Getting into it, man.
I know Jamie does every day, doesn't he? Doing them.
Does he?
Yeah, Jamie Brown goes live every day. I know Pete Shea, he started up again.
Pete Shea? I haven't seen him for months.
I told you, he'd just come back. I told you, that's what Pete does. He disappears, then he'll just come back like nothing's happened. I told you.
Yeah, his hangout lasted 1 hour 59 seconds. You've got to try and beat that, Nathan, for getting it spot on to 2 hours.
It's just not worth it. If I go over 2 hours, now that they're streamed on the main channel, all that happens is the video won't play for a lot of people because it's cut off the first 2 minutes and it's trying to play the minutes that aren't rendered. So it can only do 2 hours. Yeah, you can do as much as you like, but it just means it takes an hour to render afterwards. And I just want it to be live immediately as soon as the show finishes. I want people to be able to watch it straight away.
I saw the part where Mark was talking about the statistics of young people. I thought that was very interesting. 40% millennials or young people don't believe in the globe. So I think that's where the next step is the young people who are in school questioning the teachers. What do you make of what he was saying about that?
Well, God only knows where the statistic came from, but you know, I believe it. That's for sure. Whether or not it's true, different matter.
Yeah.
I believe the statistic. I just don't know if it's accurate.
Well, it would make sense. You know, young people, they're always going to want to go against whatever anyway. So any excuse for, you know, children to go against what is being told. And flat earth, you know, like they were saying, it's not going anywhere. So the more noise is being made, people will join it for different reasons. And that will be the problem for the teachers. In turn, that will force places like NASA to either prove it or admit that everything was fake. That's the goal.
Still waiting on you, Ruhif. You there yet?
Yeah, I'm just wondering where Ruhif was. He was trying to goad you into going online last night, and I was like, he's online every day for 2 hours. He's there free. You can fire your crosshairs at him. He's there, sat like a rabbit in the headlights.
Hardly.
Now you're available. He's on the whole call, but not here. Come on, Rufus, where are you?
Wonder if we're going to get the Rumpus in today.
Rumpus, the mathstronaut.
Mathstronaut.
Maths.
He has some sick outbursts, doesn't he? You know, when he goes off on one. I mean, I know Nathan talked over a couple of days ago. And I think it was when Nathan said you're on your last warning or you're something like that. And literally for 2 minutes, he screamed about this, and Nathan had him silenced, so none of the audience could hear this. And he was repeating the same thing over and over again. It was hilarious.
That was a fine line, that Ranty.
It was a fine line. That was it. He said that he must have said that 150 times whilst Nathan was talking over him.
Yeah, I've got a gated desk, so if I'm talking, I absolutely assure you, you won't be.
It was funny though. It was funny because he does that off air as well. He literally goes off on one.
Yeah, he did the same thing Negator X did. Came to an admission. So I think Negator X, I can't remember exactly, but I think he did the same thing and just claimed that he'd been to space or something of similar nature. And then when I tried to pin him to the, you go ahead, Anthony.
Neg said it's in the curvature of the Earth from a plane.
Ah, that was it. Yeah, he said he's seen the curvature of the Earth, and when I tried to hold him to it, he just went, I don't want to answer these questions. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, suddenly you've been put in a corner and you're like, no, I'd rather just change the subject. It's like, no, you don't get away with that. You know, if you've said something ridiculous or lied in the case of Rumpus, you know, you expect to have your toes held to the fire. Don't you say, oh no, I'd rather just change the subject now to NASA anomalies. It's like, no. If you can't provide scientific proof of Earth curvature in the case of Rumpus, and you just say, I want to change this subject, it's become very awkward. Now you've asked me 100 times. I'd rather talk about NASA anomalies. It's like, no, absolutely not. The amount of stuff on this show that's been presented by flat earthers for scrutiny, and it has been scrutinised at length by globe heads. This is flat earthers producing material that's been scrutinised. What's the globe got? Nothing. Nothing. They don't present anything. I've got Ruhif on mute at the moment, apparently, with the Wolfie 6020 video. This is what we're going to get. Some modern, bang-up-to-date, apparent proof of Earth curvature. It's like, no. You guys who absolutely staunchly believe you live on a globe have had 2,000 years to come up with something absolutely solid. Well, I mean, fine, I'll look at Wolfie's video, but what has 2,000 years afforded us? Nothing. We're about to look at a Wolfie video that's just come out, apparently. That's what we've got as proof of Earth curvature. That's what we get to scrutinise. Absolute garbage.
Does Wolfie have the observations from 2 points in the south?
No idea. Well, my point is, Spurs, that we've been doing this, you and me, for about 3 years, right? The globe, which is believed by everybody and backed by the entire body of science, has nothing. It's got no proof.
It has lots of evidence, is what they would say. We have great evidence. We have lots of supported evidence, but no proof. You're right, absolutely no proof. Zero proof of a globe.
And can I also add to that I went on a chat with Rumpus the other night, and don't quote me precisely, but it was plus 20 minutes. I think it was 24 minutes. Rumpus introduced the contentious issue that we were there for, and basically it was dirty air. But it took him 24 minutes before I got word in. I was having a full-on conversation with people in chat, just trying to keep myself awake. Rumpus is like all the ideas, all the speech, and all the ideas, but very little actual evidence to prove it.
I think flat Earth is bad for his health because he gets so stressed. I mean, his cholesterol must be through the roof.
No, Jeremy's is through the roof. Rumpus is not far behind.
But I think I think why they're getting frustrated is because they've spent years learning in order to teach what they've learned. Yeah. So now we're saying, no, you can't teach that. Whatever you've learned is not relevant. It has no application. It has no practical demonstration. Whatever, stop teaching the children what you have been taught. And this is why. Someone like Rumpus will continue to teach what he knows. Yes, he wants other people to know what he knows, and you see it with the likes of like Curved and Paper. They get very frustrated because they can't now teach the same lie, because it would have been a repetitive thing. And now we seem to have a new understanding. It has to be a different type of math, a different type of science altogether.
It's funny you should say that, because I had a dream last night that all maths was wrong. It was a weird dream, and I remember waking up and I'd been thinking about it, and it was like 2 + 2 = 7, and times isn't really times, it's divide by, and everything's wrong. All maths is, how do we know that 2 + 2 is 4? How do we know that? Because math says it's correct, but how do we know that? I mean, you could just make any gish-gash up.
Yeah, well, numbers don't actually exist if you think about it. Numbers are things the things that we ascribe to stuff, but the number 3 doesn't actually exist. It's a reference point only. So if you say that there are 3 chocolate bars, you know that that's 3 chocolate bars because you're identifying it as 3. But if 3 didn't mean 3 and it was 7, then you would then say there's 7 chocolate bars because 7 is the word that you use to describe 3. It's simply a label that you give to represent the quantity that we accept as 3.
How I kind of see it now is it's about comprehension of numbers. Okay, so this is why they've kept us with the 1 + 1, 2 + 2, and these numbers, because we can't comprehend the zeros. So when they tell us things are light years away or 93 million miles away, in our minds and our heads, we can't see those zeros. And I'm kind of saying that the people who built those structures could see those zeros. They were almost like human computers. Whereas, because again, I was speaking with Houseoy and he's saying, well, we're more advanced today, we're more intelligent today. And I was saying, well, technology, computers are more advanced than us. We're not any smarter or more intelligent than people in the past. So I think it's about comprehension. We can't comprehend huge numbers.
Let me throw a curveball in here. Is anybody familiar with something known as the Scopes monkey trial? Has anybody ever heard of the Scopes monkey trial?
No, go ahead.
Right. Basically, in the mid about 1920 something, in the mid-20s in America, there was a rule that said that you were not allowed to teach evolution in school because evolution, depending on whether you're pro-science or pro-religion, to be taught or to allow to be taught evolution is either anti-religion if you're a religious guy, or if you're a scientist, there's no evidence to support it. Now, depending on what side of the fence you're on, governs your perception. Now, for me, if the rule was in place now that you weren't allowed to teach evolution, my position would be because there's no evidence to support its truth. I wouldn't take the view that it's because it's anti-religion. I wouldn't say it's because we're a Christian country, therefore we must believe in creation. That would not be my position. My position would be that there is no evidence to prove that it's true. Now, the Scopes monkey trial was about, he was a supply teacher called John Scopes, and he was in school, and there was no clear evidence that he actually did teach evolution, but it was basically a setup to test this law that had been brought in saying that you couldn't teach evolution in school. So he got prosecuted. It was basically to test the law. It really wasn't about whether he was breaching the law or not. It was to see what the position would be if certain facts happened. And there wasn't basically, he was tested or he was trialed for teaching evolution, right, in school, which it was illegal at the time. You were not allowed to do it. There were numerous arguments back and forth, and it got really political to the extent where they got a load of monkeys, dressed them up in suits, walked them to the trial outside the steps, and famously outside the steps outside the court, and all these monkeys dressed in suits were holding banners saying, you did not evolve from monkeys. And it became like a TV trial. It was almost farcical, but the point was it was illegal to teach evolution. And the issue in trial was, why? Was it because there wasn't evidence to support it, or was it because religion was more prevalent and more powerful at the time to outlaw it? Now, ultimately, the decision, I mean, what do you think? The law said you're not allowed to teach evolution. This supply school teacher started teaching or admitted to teaching evolution and was charged with it. What do you think the outcome was? Do you think that you were not allowed to teach evolution, or do you think that you were allowed to teach evolution? What do you think?
Well,
the law was you were not allowed to teach evolution.
Well, when was this? Where was this?
1920 odd, 1923, 24, 25.
Well, I mean, again, this is it goes back to where people say, well, everybody accepted, either evolution or it's never been accepted right up until now. We still haven't found any answers. I think the problem is that people, like you say, they're trying to say it's fact without actual proof. So, yeah, unless it can be proved.
Right. So let's go back to the question. The law said you cannot teach evolution in school for whatever reason. It didn't give the reasons. But then it was argued that if you were teaching it based on science, then it should be allowed because science are facts. But the law said you're not allowed to teach it. So what do you think the outcome should have been? The guy had taught evolution. Do you think he should have been convicted of it? Or do you think he should not have been convicted of any offence? The law said you cannot teach evolution.
Well, he should have been prosecuted.
Right. It was decided in court that you could teach evolution. It was overturned eventually on a technicality, but the decision in court, when it went, even though the law said you can't do something, it was decided that they could teach it if it was basically based on fact. So that was breaching what the law said. So it became political, and then it was overturned on the appeal. But at trial, it was decided that even though the law said you can't teach evolution, if it was based on scientific quote fact, then you would be allowed to do it. And I was like, you're joking me? It says clearly you shouldn't be able to teach evolution. Why was he doing it? But it became a farce. It was a bit like the O.J. Simpson trial. It was just ridiculous the way it went. It became like a drama based around the news. But yeah, it was decided at that trial that he could teach evolution.
Yeah, the thing, again, speaking about the, evolution, it goes back to religion and it goes back to creation. And I think, for the flat Earth, You don't need those things to convince anyone of flat Earth. So, like, I mean, you're speaking about evolution now. It's only going to lead to, well, you know, creation versus evolution.
Yeah,
which is well,
but
I don't think
what was really interesting in that particular trial, the teacher on trial, Scopes, he was teaching the kids what to say in cross-examination as witnesses against him, because he wanted the kids to say that he was teaching evolution. It was a mockery. It was a mess. That was why it was corrected on appeal. But it was just really interesting to see the arguments for why evolution should or should not be taught in schools. And for me, there's no evidence for it on that basis. It should not be taught. It should be said, evolution is a thing if you accept rubbishy evidence. At the end of the day, we accept that there is microevolution, variation within a species. We don't accept that a horse can become a buffalo, or we don't accept that man can become monkeys, because we just don't accept.
I think they've tried to, you know, say it's a little bit different from that now. But then when you try to pin them down on, did we come from one cell? It's very difficult to get an answer from them. Yeah. So,
yeah, what they do is they deliberately blur the lines between macroevolution and microevolution, macro and microevolution. We accept that there's variation within a species, but we don't accept that species can morph into new species.
I mean, we've had the ballers discussing amongst themselves with the missing link. Some of them believe Lucy was real, and some of them think Lucy was a hoax. So
Lucy was a monkey.
It was
Right, well,
there's a
let's
great
put it this
video.
way.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. There's a great video that I watched this morning about this, and I shared it on Facebook as well. Just look at the title. Just give me 10 seconds. It was by, I think it's Flat Earth Brothers. I think that's the title of the channel. Yeah, Flat Earth Brothers. Why They Lie, Part 1. And this covers exactly this subject. So check it out. Why They Lie, Part 1 by Flat Earth Brothers. That's the YouTube channel name, Flat Earth Brothers.
check that
Right.
out.
Well, we'll put it this way: if we did have ancestors and they were more than 2,000-3,000 years old, where's all the bones? Where's all the fossils?
Yeah, but like I
Because
said,
there should be thousands of these everywhere.
Yeah,
You know,
he's right.
we get one bone here or there, and then they say it's a new species.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
the only downside with this discussion on evolution is it's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth per se. On the face of it, that it's not about the shape of the Earth. However, it's probably a really interesting, and I find it fascinating how many layers of bullshit the evolutionists have to accept to believe that a monkey can become a human.
Well, no, it does tie in because of the timelines involved for the heliocentric model, and you need those timelines. So it does tie in, I think.
because they say that 1 million years ago there was no Homo sapiens. You know, they had Homo erectus, and before that it was something else. I can't remember what it was called before that. And then obviously you had subgroups and stuff. So you had the Neanderthals that were supposed to be living 10,000 years ago. All this kind of stuff.
I remember having a debate with GeoStreamer on evolution, and he was talking about, I think they were newts at the time, and he was trying to show me that there was a special event that happened in newts where there was a division. All the newt population in a particular area got divided for some reason. I don't know if it was a river or whatever. I don't know what had happened, but they got split. And time later, that population could no longer interbreed with itself because it was divided enough from the other population that the DNA, the genes within the pools that they were in, the two separate pools, started to micro-evolve. And as they begin to micro-evolve, they get further away from the genes that the genetic pool that they were once in, and they become their own form of micro-evolution. And when they evolve like that, everybody accepts that the newts are still the newts, but they're still newts. But if they carry on micro-evolving, they can become far enough away from the previous pool that they were once part of that they're unable to now reproduce with the previous pool. they lose the ability to reproduce. And then once they lose that ability to reproduce, that then satisfies the definition of species as far as science is concerned. It becomes its new species. It's not able to reproduce anymore with the people that it was previously part of. Therefore, it's evolved. Now that's microevolution, right? But ultimately, they're still newts, and it doesn't change that they're still
Well, here's
newts.
the thing: if you think about it this way, right? People in warm climates that tend to be born in warm climates have darker skin, and people that live in cooler climates tend to have lighter skin, right? But essentially, we are the same. The only micro difference is the color of our skin. We still have the same features, the same bones. Everything's the same. You know, same arms, same legs. We're not growing a tail or something, and we're not eating different foods.
Right.
You know,
Correct.
it's the same as you know, what's those creatures that change color? Chameleons. Yeah, so the chameleon can change its color. They're kind of, you know, it's kind of micro changes, but essentially we're the same.
How I saw it, on the flat Earth, everyone on the outside of the flat Earth has the darker skin, like you said, and everyone towards the center of the flat Earth has lighter skin. And
Well, the other thing is, of course, that black skin, white skin, red hair, brown hair, this is all examples of microevolution. However, on the evolution side, where is the common ancestor for people that are black? So, you get a black guy, where did he come from? Because everybody assumes that humans are all the same. But the evolution argument is that whites and blacks are physically and biologically different. So therefore, we must have a split in our history where blacks somehow or whites somehow became available from where? Where did blacks come from over whites in the evolution argument?
I think it's the other way around. I think it's not about black or white. I think it's about the color of the eyes, right? It's about the blue or the green eyes. Everybody has brown eyes, right? And I
Right.
think
What I mean is,
so how blue eyes do you get? Brown eyes do you get blue eyes? That's what they need to.
well, let me rephrase it.
Evolution,
Just before you do, Anthony, when you're not talking, can you just mute? You're causing quite a lot of feedback.
Oh, sorry. But what I was going to say was, at some point in the evolution debate, there is a point where black people or white people did not previously exist.
Again, you're saying black and white, and I don't think it's like that because white people can become brown, and then you have so-called black people in Africa which are completely white. Yes, I think it's the traits, hair color and eye color, which is the thing that has evolved or changed. There's the variation. Yeah.
Well, if you
Because,
believe the evolutionists, they say that the Homo erectus couldn't speak, but the Neanderthals could. They had the gene that was allowing them to speak. So they say that at some point they must have bred with each other to transfer that gene over so that the Homo erectus could speak, because up until then it was only the Neanderthals that could speak. So that's what they say. They say that it's crossbreeding, exchanging of genes, giving the next generation an advantage over the ones before.
Well,
I asked, was it a single cell? As we, and they've kind of said, well, it was multiple, like life started multiple cells, and then they started to replicate, and then it's quite confusing. They give different answers. Some of them think it's a single cell, and then from that single cell, another cell, and then so on and so on. And the strongest cell survived. But yeah, it's quite confusing.
the point I was getting at was that the DNA structure of a black person compared to the DNA structure of a white person is different. But it's microevolution, it's not macroevolution. But even though I heard what you said, there has to have been a point where the black DNA structure came from somewhere, because there has to have been an overlap. Now, whether it's eye color, hair color.
You say that again, but I mean, we look at light people in the north, your people from Norway, Denmark. These people, they have their structure is somewhat strong.
Yeah, but it's different though. That's my point. It's not the same DNA structure, otherwise they would be the same looking. Phenotypically and genotypically, they would be the same, but they're not. Right.
Well, if you look in the world now, and there's like 7 billion people, find me a small community somewhere or a race of people that are adapting and are changing and look different to us. Because
Good question.
There isn't any.
No.
Good question, Ranty.
And
Where
that's
have you
the
got
point.
where have you got 7 billion figure from?
Well, 6 billion. How many billion is it now?
I have no idea.
It's a fair few billion, they say.
Got Ruhif
Let's
back.
say-
How you doing, Ruhif? Can you hear us?
Hello. Yeah, I can. I've only got about
good
5
to have you.
minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I got roped into some celebration, so I couldn't actually be there at the start.
Really?
Just
Have you got
quickly.
2 black eyes? It looks like you got 2 black eyes.
I've got a hat on and,
Oh, right, okay.
enough sleep.
Looks like
Yeah,
you-
whatever. What was I going to
So
say?
he's got
Yeah,
black eyes. He's been beat up.
Yeah.
the Wolfie video. Have you guys played the Wolfie video during this hangout?
No, we were waiting for you.
Oh, I can't stay. I just wanted to say
verbally-
that it's very,
verbally
that
tell
there's
us. Just tell us what the score is.
distortion at all.
We waited all this time for you.
No.
show
Just
this.
tell us.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter. We can see
Sorry.
the video afterwards. It just you can still make your points, Ruhif. It doesn't matter that you're limited
Yeah.
for time.
All right, I put forward that there's basically no distortion layer whatsoever. It's very clear and crisp. You can read all the... Sorry, I can't read them. You can see distinctly each shipping container. Love to see you guys maneuver around it.
Oh, right. So you're on about the boat passing in the background?
Yes.
Right. So I'm just looking
not-
at the
it's not
video
actually-
now. So
Yeah, it's not actually Wolfie's video. It's a mirror. And the other thing is evolution. I'm happy to come on one day and explain why I think common descent is beyond any reasonable doubt.
Fair enough.
great.
Yeah.
I think
Right,
they're linked.
tell
They're
you what,
definitely linked
how
topics.
long
So
have we got?
I'd be interested to hear it, Ruhif, for sure.
Yeah, I would too.
Cool. What was the question though?
I've got this. I've got it on screen now. If
Okay.
Nathan could share.
Okay, what is your claim there, Rupert, about this video? I'm looking at it right now.
That
Looking
the
at the
hull
ship.
of the ship is well below the horizon.
Right. So
The
basically, I've got it on
horizon-
screen. Nathan, am I presenting?
Hold on. The horizon is behind the ship.
No, the hull of the ship is behind the horizon, or below the horizon.
No, behind the ship we can see the horizon. Yes,
Behind the foreground ship.
we can
I'm a
see
bit
water in front and behind the ship.
Let me
the
just get it clear
foreground
from
ship.
Ruhif because he's making the assertion. What are you saying exactly, Ruhif? That the horizon is the boat? Is that what you're saying?
No, that there's no distortion layer whatsoever, and the hull of the ship is well below the horizon.
Are you talking about there's a boat in the background?
Yes, the background. Wow.
Do you think
Come
that's
on,
a
people.
container ship that's carrying some containers and you believe the hull's below the water?
What do you
What,
think?
is he
it
serious? He thinks you can see water in front of the boat and behind the boat.
Hang on, wait a minute. I can see the hull of the boat there. It's just the waves, you moron.
What is wrong?
You cannot. What?
Hold
guys
on.
are
Now I see what he's saying. Hold on. There's another boat. So the boat behind. Yeah, fine.
Yes.
Now I see what he's saying.
Yeah, you
Go-
can
go
see
back
the
to
front
the
of it. And you can see the waves. The waves, you're not telling me that they're 15-foot
Oh,
waves.
okay, I see. Yes, the boat
The
behind.
boat at the back, people. The boat at the back. Where is the hull of that ship? Very simple question.
Right. If we gave you an answer.
Yep.
Do you know who the best person to answer this is? Arwin. However, he's not
Sorry.
here, and I can answer it on his behalf.
Yeah.
But I don't have the document to be able to cite as a scientific evidence
yeah.
for it. Well,
To be
I'm not on
honest, I
my
don't care what you
PC.
say.
Well, hang on. Can I do this? I can't do it right away. I'm gonna have to go back through my messages with Arwin to find the document.
Yeah.
Hang on. Give me. Can you give me 5 minutes, or can you come back in 10?
No, I've probably not.
I think he's done enough. He's certainly thrown a cat amongst the pigeons. Excellent job, Ruhif.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll come back. My wife's gone to Europe on Sunday night, so after that, like when the cat's away, I'll be joining pretty frequently, I think.
Good job, man. Love it, Ruhif. Well done.
Hang on. I think I might have it. I think I might have it, Rufus.
Quickly then.
Let me just make sure this is it. Hang on. Yes, this is it.
Right, let me share screens again.
Yep.
Now, I will agree with you that I have seen evidence like this myself, but only once. I've been to a particular place, and I've got that boat hanging behind the horizon once. I've been there 15 times, and I've never had it more than once. It was a rarity. It wasn't the common theme. However, this particular paper that we like to reference because it's got a pretty little graph in it. It's got lots of maths and nonsense like that. It talks about what light does in this vanishing zone. Can you see how the light dips down first and then bends up out the way, and then anything behind it you can no longer see?
Yeah, and scroll up to the section that it's in.
Vanishing zone?
9.3, go to section 9. What's section 9 called?
Inferior mirage.
Do you see an inferior mirage in that footage?
Right,
Yeah,
yes.
we're
yes.
We have a typical inferior image.
Yeah.
Vanishing line. Hang on. 9.2.
Do you see any abnormal refraction events in that image?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, it's clear. If you look at 33 seconds, you can see the tall white object shimmering, moving left and right. This wouldn't happen. Okay?
Can you do that, Anthony? 33
Slow it
seconds.
down. 33 seconds. A light comes on the tall white. I wouldn't say building, but the container. It starts shimmering. That's the distortion that we're looking for.
You're kidding, I suppose.
Just gone past it, Anthony.
You're kidding.
Okay, 32 seconds. We start from there. And just pay attention. Slow it down and pay attention to the white, rectangle.
You know what this bit here, yeah?
Hold on, I've got it on big screen.
What do you know? What my gut reaction to this is?
So the 33. So the light's going to come on now, on that tall white thing, and we can see it now shimmering. If you look closely,
I've got a better explanation.
There's your distortion.
I have a better explanation.
All right.
Sure, I've got it. Can you share my screen, Nathan?
See you later.
Thanks, Ruhif.
See you later. See you later.
Go on, Ranty, you're up.
Sorry, can you see? Am I sharing my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see the front of the boat here, right? You can actually see the front of the boat, and you can see these waves. Now, these waves are very tiny on the actual horizon, but they're dwarfing the boat in the background. This wave here, if you measured that wave in comparison to the front of the boat, you'd have to say it was a 40-foot wave. Well, we know it's not a 40-foot wave. All that's happening is the water's going up and down, and it's blocking out the boat in the background. Because
right,
there
so
you
it's
can
the Father
clearly
Ted.
see the boat.
It's from
Sorry?
like Father Ted. These cows are far away. These cows are large. Well, because the waves in the foreground may not be 40 feet high, but they're closer to you. They don't have to be 40 foot high. They could be an inch high if they're right next to the lens.
Yes, exactly. And this is what's happening. You can see the boat. The boat is there. It's not behind the horizon. It's just that the waves are going up and down. And if I play the video now, you can see where it's got. Look at it. The boat's on the horizon. Look, it's going up and down. Now it's sunk. If you believe that, you actually watch it drop into the ocean.
Exactly.
Look at this. Now it's going to go head first. It's a submarine now. Look, it's a submarine.
Oh, it's just gone behind the curve of the Earth,
Ranty.
Ranty. That's the curve of the Earth grew. The curve of the Earth grew in that moment. That's what happened. It's definitely curvature. It just got exponentially larger in that moment.
Here we go. It goes up. In a minute. There you go.
Again, people can't bring these type of videos and expect. They say we have a problem. 5 minutes of observations, and it's not a problem.
So it can't be visible here. We can see the front of the boat there very clearly, way above the water, right? And then in a couple of seconds more, it's going to be a submarine, right? There we go. It's gone, right?
And there's just shimmering as well at the beginning of the boat. Look, like you said.
Yeah, Wolfie debunked.
No, actually, Wolfie's video just mirrored it.
Again,
and the other thing,
that's more flat Earth proof, right?
The other thing I would say as well is I've seen this phenomena once, and similar scenario, boat passing behind another boat, and I've seen it once. I've been the same place many times, and I've never seen it before. So what I would say is that this is the exception to the rule and not the rule, and this is basically non-standard refraction. Whatever's going on here, it's the effects of refraction, because there's a little bit of light bending up, chopping the bottoms off.
Hey,
Well, what you have
Rumpus.
to look
How you
at here
doing?
is
Hold on a second, Ranty. How you doing, Rumpus? Good to have you.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Ron.
Have you got any evidence of scientific
Wait,
curvature
wait.
yet, Rumpus?
Can I just finish this point? Can I just finish this point?
Yeah.
We have these containers here, and these containers can be about 30 feet, 40 feet tall. Now, if we look at the wave where it's cresting at the bottom and cresting at the top, and you can see the difference in height between the cresting of the two and how much it's actually dropping, how much it's actually blocking out the background. Now, these waves are maybe only 3 or 4 feet tall, but because they're nearer to the lens, like Nathan's just said, it's dwarfing the thing in the background.
Well done, Ranty. Good spot.
This would not happen on a flat Earth.
Mm.
No, this is what we're seeing on a flat Earth. This is what happens.
No, this is what you see on a curved Earth. Only a curved Earth can explain what you're looking at.
Okay, so
Just
this is
explain.
beyond the horizon, is it?
If you understood the perspective rules, you would know that ship's hull cannot be as low as it is on a flat Earth. It can only be that low on a spherical Earth.
What about you seeing the front of the boat then?
How do
Yeah,
you
well,
explain?
Well, the waves are moving up and down by a few feet, yes, and at that distance it makes a difference. But the point is, the boat can only be as low as it is.
Right.
on a spherical Earth.
Well, let me answer you another question. You can see that the way it's not that choppy because the boat that's going in the foreground, it's not a very choppy day. It's just light ripples on the water. You can tell that by the boat earlier in the video. So it's not a choppy sea. So the boat in the background won't be going up and down massive waves. It's not going up a 30-foot wave and then dropping down again and crashing.
No, it's not. No.
Right. So when you watch the video, right, and you see the front of the boat here, you see the front of the boat there, right? And you know these container ships, they have big front parts here, and then the sides are pretty low down because they need to get these containers off. They're not, you know, the designs of them. So if you can see the front of the boat here very clearly, right? And then in a couple of seconds' time, you will see that it actually goes down. And it looks like it's going into a submarine, you know, it's going into submarine mode. So this...
Right, so these waves in the foreground are going up and down by a few feet, yes, and that causes...
Now you can't see the front of the boat.
Yeah, Ranty, this is, yes, but basic perspective. The point is...
So is this a big wave here? Is this a big wave here and this is lower down, this part?
No, but Rumpus, you want it both ways. You want us to say that the front of the boat is gone over curvature, and we're saying it's the waves, the same as the back of the boat is waves. So you want the front of the boat to be waves, but the back of the boat to be curvature. Doesn't make any sense.
No, there's a combination.
You know the boat is not going up and down.
Can I get a sentence out?
Well, let me just finish. No. You know the boat. You know that. No. You know it's not choppy because it's not a choppy sea.
It's moving up by a few feet. We've accepted that.
It's not a choppy sea, right?
Well, it's going up by a few feet. You can see that it's going by a few feet.
Just a minute. So this boat is probably going over a flattish water at this time. You know, it's not going to be going up and down, chucked around like it's on a ride or anything like that, right?
No.
So the only thing that's confusing us then is this water going up and down in the foreground. That's the only thing that's blocking out the thing in the background because the water is
because the hull of the boat is so low that you can only account for it by the curvature of Earth.
We've just accounted for it with waves. That's what's just been used to account for it. And you said this was only possible on a globe, and then you've immediately conceded that we can see the effects of obstruction being caused by something other than curvature.
Right, so there are two things going on.
It can absolutely happen on a flat Earth. I would say the other way around. This is impossible. Impossible on a globe.
Yeah, well, that's because you're an idiot.
Well, I would say the same thing. You've just asserted that it's only possible because of curvature, and Ranty's just obliterated that argument by pointing out that within a few frames, you have waves obscuring. Not curvature obscuring, waves obscuring. Something that you haven't conceded.
Right, am I going to be able to get a sense of that? Great. There are two things going on here. One is we have motion of the waves that are near to us. The boat, I think itself, is possibly going up and down very slightly, but it's not going up and down by the size, the 40 feet, as Ranty said.
Okay, so we've got the waves. That's the first thing, and that's evidenced. We've seen that evidenced by Ranty. We've just had a demonstration of that. So what's the second thing, Rumpus?
Oh, I'm allowed to speak again. I'm totally good. Right, so there are two things going on here.
I'll just make something clear to you, Rumpus. When I speak, I will be heard. So as much as you think you can just continually talk while the hangout's in the background, if I'm talking, the audience is going to hear me. When I stop talking, that's your cue to talk. Okay, Rumpus? Is that clear? You don't seem to be shutting up. I can see the level dancing continually in the hangout.
How about allowing other people to speak occasionally without...
Hang on, Rumpus, that's not accurate. You allow your guests to speak on your hangouts eventually is accurate.
I agree. Yes, I know you're going to talk about the 25 minutes. I agree with you. I did have a long introduction, but that was an explanation. I was talking about how Mirage...
I'm joyfully mocking you, Rumpus. I'm not having...
So point one, let's just get back on track. Point one, we have waves that do obscure the bottom of the boat, and this has been evidenced.
No, not the way.
This has been evidenced by Ranty. I'll say it again. When I talk, Rumpus, you shut your mouth. So Ranty has now evidenced your first point, which is that waves do obscure the bottom of the boat. What's your second point?
If you have no manners, I'm afraid you're not going to expect me to take turns. If you can't take turns properly, then I'm afraid we're going to have a conflict here. If you have to say something and then allow me to have a turn, then we can get on with things. But if you keep on over-talking me when I've only got about 2 words into a sentence, we're not going to get anywhere.
I'll do as I damn well please. What's your second point?
Oh, my God. As the waves go up and down, indeed, they obscure more or less.
Yes, we've established that. I've just established that again for the audience, and Ranty has demonstrated it with evidence. What's your second point?
Right, here we go. Right, here we go. So we've got the waves going up and down by a small...
Yeah, we've got the waves. We know the waves are obscuring the bottom of the boat. We've established that with evidence, Rumpus. I'd like to know what your second point is so we can get on to you basically pointing out what the second point is, then evidencing it.
Right, you obnoxious little twat. Let me speak. We've got the curvature of the Earth, which is the cause of the main reason we can't see the hull, and overlaid on that is the waves adding an extra bit.
Excellent. So the first point is waves that we've had demonstrated by Ranty. Now can you evidence the curvature of the Earth, please?
Right, because on a flat Earth, you would not get...
Not because on a flat Earth. I want you to evidence it like Ranty has done with the waves, please.
That boat is too low. You cannot account for...
Not telling me what the boat is and isn't. Evidence the curvature that you're now claiming is obscuring it, Rumpus. Are you deaf?
That picture does give me evidence for the curvature.
That's just saying it does. You see, Ranty did a little demonstration and showed unequivocally that the waves were obscuring it. Now you've just asserted that this does demonstrate it without giving any evidence or demonstration of that curve that's obscuring it according to your assertion.
Right, let's try... Okay, let me do a screen grab of this, and then I can draw in where the hull would be, and then we can show that cannot be caused by the waves. So if we could show... Is that
evidencing it, or a demonstration? Is that an extrapolation or an evidence example?
I'm going to use... We know the shape of the ship, and we know where the hull is going to be with respect to the mean wave. We can say where...
Excellent. And we know there's waves, and we know there's curvature. Do we know that?
This proves...
We don't know there's curvature. Right,
Rumpus? Don't know
Rumpus?
you're an idiot, but we know any sensible
Sorry,
person...
not because I'm an idiot, because I've asked 100 times for you to provide scientific proof of curvature, and you haven't.
I would do it now with this diagram.
This is not a scientific proof of Earth curvature. Doing this with a diagram isn't the 2,000 years of evidence, is it? This isn't a scientific proof.
So you're not going to allow me to use this as evidence, is that correct?
Sorry, Rumpus, I've asked you what 2,000 years of globe understanding has provided us as scientific proof of Earth curvature. So this video from a current YouTuber that's been recently published isn't really something that has been afforded as scientific proof in the last 2,000 years now, is it?
So you don't want to discuss it then?
I want you to evidence the curvature that you've just claimed is obscuring the bottom of the boat, like Ranty did with the waves, something you have conceded and also used as your first point. So point number one in terms of what's obscuring the boat according to Rumpus is the waves. and it's evidenced.
bit.
Now
It's just a
I
little
want
bit
your
obscuring.
proof that curvature needs to be taken into account with scientific proof.
But the thing is, you don't understand the scientific method, Nathan. I mean,
See, we're back to this. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. I ask 100 times for scientific proof, and what I get, rather than scientific proof, is told that I don't understand the scientific method. Not just a scientific proof of his assertion. Part 2, curve. No proof. Part 1, waves. Proof. That's where we're at.
right. But you don't accept the scientific method. The document you quote that gives the scientific method does
You
not
haven't
mention
given me
things like null
anything.
hypothesis.
You give it
Does
me.
not mention-
You give it me, Rumpus, and I will scrutinise it. So far, you've not given me anything.
I gave you 6 documents. And
They
you
did
you
not
rejected them.
conform to the scientific method. Give me something
don't
that
have-
does. Don't tell me what I will and will not understand about the scientific method. Just give me your proof, and I will
Do you believe
scrutinise
the
it
null
at my
hypothesis
leisure.
is part of the scientific-
In excess of 100 times I've asked you for this, Rumpus. In excess of 100 times. You haven't given me a scientific proof of curvature, and yet you continue to assert that we need to insert this presupposition into your evidence of this obstruction, which has been demonstrated as waves.
The minor change is due to the waves. That doesn't account for the large missing part of the hull.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. The waves are not going up and down by the size of the hull.
Right,
They're
well, if
going
you're
up and
going to
down
claim
by
it's
a-
curvature, you need to provide some proof of that.
Right, but do you believe, for instance, in
I
your
don't
claim
care
to
what I
understand
want to
scientific
know about
method?
beliefs. Where's your proof of the curve obscuring the bottom of the boat?
But
Ranty
you-
has...
but when proof we're talking about,
Ranty has proved that the Earth is flat and demonstrated that it's being blocked by waves. You have just inserted this bullshit that it's because of Earth curve, which you have no proof of.
if Ranty's point was correct, then you would occasionally see the very bottom of the hull. You don't, and that's because of the curve of the Earth. All you see is a slight variation due to the waves.
How far away
Most of the
from?
hull
How far
is
away are
behind
we?
The curve of the Earth.
How far away are
I'm
we
not
from
gonna-
these
I'm not going to
boats?
be allowed to finish a sentence.
How
Right, so
far
the
away?
main reason-
How
oh, my
far from the
goodness.
boats are we?
I don't know that, but I do know. I could work it out.
Well, then you have
actually.
no idea, mathematically or otherwise, how much the boat should be missing, do you, Rumpus? For all you know, it should be fully visible on a globe. You have absolutely no idea how much
That's
should
two words
or
a
shouldn't be
sentence now.
obscured if you
Possibly
don't
two
know the
words, possibly
distance.
3 words.
Are you pathetic?
well,
do you
what's
not
the name of
realise
the
the
boat?
importance of the distances, Rumpus?
Right, here we go. Right, so the reason we're
Answer
missing
my
most
question.
of
Do you
the-
not
Oh my
understand the
God.
importance of the
I
distances?
turned you down, Nathan. I've no idea what you were saying.
Don't-
Right, so we're
well,
missing
then you need
most
to
of
pay
the
more
hull of the
attention,
boat due
Rumpus.
to the curve
Do you
of
not
the Earth,
understand the
and we're missing-
distances
Oh,
to these
I can't
boats
hear what
is,
you're saying, Nathan.
is of extreme
Right,
importance,
I can't
Rumpus?
hear what you're saying.
Well, then shut
Right,
up for
so
a
the
second.
reason we're missing
You
most
can't
of
hear
the
what I'm
boat
saying
is due
because
to
you
the
won't
curve
shut
of the
up.
Earth.
You just keep talking
Most of the
continually.
reason- most of
Yeah, I'll just quieten you down. No problem, Rumpus. We'll wait. The audience can wait until you can shut your mouth for a few seconds.
Am I going to get a go? Am I ever going to get a go?
No, you're going to answer my question. The distance
And what
to these
question was
boats...
that? I've no idea.
Yeah,
'cause
I'm
you
now
haven't
getting
talked.
2 words in, Rumpus, while you talk over me.
No, but I've never had more than 4, just about, when I've answered. You asked
Well,
me a
on your
question,
show
I get
yesterday, you
4
got
words.
25 minutes uninterrupted. This is my show, and I'll do as I damn well please. So if I want to ask a question of whether or not you understand the significance of the distances to the boat, then I will ask it, and you will answer it. That's how it works here. I asked, do you understand the importance of the distance to those boats?
Okay, can I ask you a question, Rumpus?
Only
Yes,
no,
you
no.
can.
My
Could you
question
tell
takes
me
no,
the
Ranty. Come on,
elevation-
don't do the same as Rumpus. I'm asking if he understands the significance of the distance to these boats.
Oh, I do, absolutely, yes.
So, do you understand that you have absolutely no idea how much should or shouldn't be obscured if you don't know the distance?
I can see that there is obscured.
Sorry,
Part
that's
of
not
the
my
hull.
question.
Oh, no.
I don't want you to tell me what you can see. I'm not blind. My question is really specific. Do you understand the importance of the distances when quoting chapter and verse about Earth curvature obstruction? Do you understand that the
Randy,
distance...
can you not see this as being an obnoxious twat? I mean, the rest of you. Can you
Stop
not see
swearing.
this as an
Stop
obnoxious
calling me a
and
twat. I'm asking you if you understand the
Well,
significance of the
behave like a
distances.
decent, socially functional human being.
Yeah, what the problem is here, I've got the Rumpus on the ropes, and I'm holding his toes to the fire, and as a consequence, he can't shut up, which is funny, amusing. Rumpus, I'll make it a statement rather than a question. If you don't know the distance to the boat, You have absolutely no idea how much should be obscured, if any. For all we know, it might be obscured when it should be completely visible on a globe. The only way to establish this, unless you are an idiot, is by knowing the distance, which Rumpus doesn't know. Therefore, Rumpus is an idiot.
I mean, you can see he's an obnoxious twat.
And I can see you're a stuttering buffoon. But the reality is the same. If we don't know the distances, we don't know how much should be obscured. Yet without knowing the distances, you are quite content to just simply assert that we should have Earth curve obscuring this boat, even though you don't know the distance. You are a fundamentalist. You're a zealot. You don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you're prepared to assert that Earth curve's obscuring this boat, even though you don't know the distance. You're about as dogmatic as a glober gets. If something's being obstructed, you can be damn sure it's Earth curve obscuring it as far as Rumpus is concerned. Don't need to know the distances. We just know that obstruction is always going to be caused by Earth curve. Doesn't matter how far it is, definitely the Earth curve blocking it.
Go on. Say statistics, Nathan. Try and say statistics without stuttering. Go on, give it a go.
Statistics.
Show the audience you can do that.
Yeah, I can say statistics. It's not a problem. You, on the other hand, stutter like a buffoon when your toes are being held to the fire. The reality is, if you don't know the distance, you have no idea if the entire boat should be visible on a globe. You moron.
Right, well, from the distance, I can see that the hull is obscured.
So it must be Earth curvature. We don't need to know the distances. If I can see it's obscured, it's got to be Earth curve obscuring it, right, Rumpus?
If the waves were just causing the obscuring, then
They are. That's been demonstrated by Ranty. He's shown that waves are obscuring it. Not if anything. If you don't know the distance as far as we're concerned, the whole thing might be visible on a globe. We have no idea. You're just here to assert that it is Earth curve obstructing it, even though you've got absolutely sod all idea how far these things are away.
You're an obnoxious twat, Nathan, who
Please
cannot conduct yourself in a
swearing,
civilized manner.
Rumpus. Stop swearing.
Well, conduct yourself in a civilized manner. I didn't swear.
I'll do as I like.
You a twat.
So don't tell me how to behave. I'll do what I like and point out that you're an idiot. To assert that it's Earth curve blocking without knowing the distance to these objects is moronic.
You behave in this obnoxious manner in real life. I want to know. I think people would like to know if you behave like this in real life.
It depends. If people are complete idiots around me, then yeah, I tear them a new one in real life as well, Rumpus. If someone tells me that Earth curve is obscuring the bottom of a boat without knowing the distance to it, that's moronic. Absolutely stupid.
Reasonable people don't behave in like little Hitlers, and they allow other people to speak, and you don't. Because you behave like a little Hitler. You've got a little bit of power here, and you choose to exercise it. And
when you've got a little bit of power, you take 25 minutes to bore the living pants off your audience. So, yeah, let's not play these sorts of games, Rumpus. The reality is simple. You don't know the distance.
Yourself, and then I'll behave.
You don't know the distance to these boats, Rumpus.
Right, indeed I don't.
So you have no idea if it's Earth curve causing it or not, even mathematically.
Dude, the waves, but Nathan, if the point you're making is correct, the waves would reveal the hull of the boat sometimes, if that's all it was called.
That's precisely what Ranty demonstrated. He showed that we see some of the boat, and then there's a little bit of a 2-inch, 3-inch wave very close to the sea line, which is where this is being filmed from, and it does obscure it. That's precisely what's been demonstrated by Ranty.
You can see what an obnoxious twat this guy is. Sure, why do you associate with him?
Why do you keep ad-homing me? Just because I've got your toes to the fire.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Nathan, let me make 3 points to Rumpus.
Sure.
You're familiar video of Matrix Decode, correct?
No, I'm not.
The one that's very orangey because it's done at sunset. You've not seen
sorry.
That? All right, it's very similar to this one, but Matrix Decode did because the video is comparable. It's a fair comparison to make. Matrix Decode did that video whilst the tide was coming in, and you can see that by the beginning of the video, the tide's further out than where it is at the end of the video. When the tide's coming in, what happens is the tide crashes up against the shoreline, and the shoreline resists the incoming tide. So it creates a concertina effect with the incoming water, and it pushes it backwards, and which
it's not comparable. This
Rumpus, can you try not to interrupt, please? Rumpus, try not to interrupt.
You said you were going to give people chances to speak. And
yeah, but I was making a point.
God, this guy's an obnoxious twat, isn't he? Rumpus, can you try not to be such an obnoxious twat and interrupt people all the time, please?
I'm not preventing.
Yes, you're an obnoxious twat who keeps interrupting him. Shut your mouth.
I
Shut your mouth and let him finish. Shut up.
I made a useful interjection.
Shut up, Rumpus. He's in the middle of a sentence. Shut your mouth, you obnoxious little twat.
You can't.
Yeah, ha ha ha. You're an obnoxious little twat. Shut your mouth and let him finish his point.
You're projecting, Nathan. You're projecting
Rumpus.
your character onto me.
Rumpus.
Go ahead,
Let me make my points and then you can respond.
Okay, carry on.
So Matrix Decode showed that when you've got an incoming tide, the water being resisted by the shore basically builds up and it creates an artificial hump whilst the incoming tide is coming in. Without knowing whether the tide's coming in on that video or not, we can't know whether it's caused by an incoming tide or not. Secondly, my second point is, when the waves are cresting the way that we see, if the boat's at the relevant distances, Nathan is correct. You can get the waves creating the blockage that you perceive as curvature if the atmospheric conditions are favourable or flat-ish because of the non-effect of refraction. Because if refraction appears to be pretty flat and it's not being distorted to death, you're going to get this perception. But thirdly, my third point is, at the end of debate 76, Paul Voigt was basically, and it's literally, I can give you a timestamp if you want to play it, Nate. It's literally the last 90 seconds, 2 minutes of the debate 76. Paul Voigt was asked by me. So he was talking about the effects of non-standard refraction making a curved Earth look very flat. And he was arguing that it just looks more flat when there's more non-standard refraction. And I asked him, well, does that mean that you would always apply more non-standard refraction to explain how flat things appear to look? And he said yes. So we ridiculed him. But what that therefore means is that I can then say the same in reverse. I can say, well, if Paul's going to just make it look more flat by adding a bit more non-standard refraction on, what stops me from saying that this is just a refraction effect that makes it look like it's curved and make it as much as what I want?
Okay, right. But the Paul Voigt thing, I believe that was when you were discussing the possibility of looking at the Langness lighthouse, and he was trying to justify being able to see that projection, which you claimed was Ireland, on the left-hand side of the Isle of Man. And at that point, he hadn't done the calculations properly. And I think he claimed that you could be able to see that due to extra refraction. I think he would say now that that was incorrect. Let me finish my point. Anthony, let me finish my point. And that was, as we've established, the left-hand side of the Isle of Man image is in fact the Clay head and not Douglas head. And so he was actually, I think he would now admit that that was an incorrect claim to make, that the refraction could account for that amount. But he was just basically saying non-standard refraction can vary by a bit. So I'm afraid I don't regard that last point of yours as being valid. What's more, we don't have very much refraction in this image. We don't have a little layer. I don't think there's very much looming going on, and I don't think, I mean, it's over water. Normally, over water, you're going to get standard refraction. But the point is, there's only a little bit of looming going on here. But the point is, the hull of the boat is so far below the waves that it cannot be accounted for by just the random change of the size of the waves. So you've got a little bit of wave movement, but that does not account for the vast difference of between the dip play position of where the hull has got to be and where the top of the waves are. You cannot account for that by waves.
Rumpus, can I ask you a question?
Hang on.
No. I'm trying to say this.
Ranty, can I just finish answering Anthony's point? So keep your question in mind, Ranty. Now the other, so there was another. What was your first point again? About to do with the tides. Yeah, we haven't got tides going on here, and we haven't got a shoreline, so I don't really see how your first point is relevant. But I'll go and look at that video.
You do actually have tides going on.
Are we on a canal?
Yeah, I can see the tide. The water's travelling in one direction. It's going left to right, and the boat's going right to left. So they're in direct opposites to each other.
But the context was a shoreline. Anthony was making a point to do with shorelines, and I didn't really understand the point, but it involved tides and the shoreline. And we haven't got that situation here, so I don't really see how that's relevant.
You don't know that. Hang on, there's no way that this is a canal.
No, this is on the ocean. Yes, it's that boat.
So then we'll have a tidal effect.
Yeah,
but I would like to know what the container ship is called.
Yes, but the
Shut
tide effect you were referring to was to do with the shoreline. Just because the tide lifts the whole sea up and everything on it by a certain amount has absolutely no bearing on how much we can see of this. It only changes the observer height. I mean, if this guy's looking at this is on a, if I wanted to do the calculations, I would have.
Sorry, do the calculations on the distances and the heights that you do not know. You are asserting that the obstruction is caused by curvature without knowing anything about this image. And my point is that if you do that, that makes you a dogmatist. You are assuming its curvature regardless of what the data may or may not be, Rumpus.
Right, we can see there is...
Yes, that's right. You are assuming automatically that you're seeing curvature.
You're going to allow me to finish? Right, the point is...
That's my point, and you're just ignoring me over and over again. And rather than addressing what I've just pointed out to you, that you're just going to call me an obnoxious twat. Fine, I'll just call it you, because it is your projection onto me. You are an obnoxious twat, Rumpus, and we all know it. However, you are prepared to assume, off the cuff, that the obstruction's caused by curvature without knowing anything about the image. It's automatically curvature according to Rumpus. This basically demonstrates to the entire audience basically how disingenuous Rumpus is. He will always argue anything that's being obscured at the bottom is being caused by curvature. He doesn't need to get the data. If he gets the data and it doesn't work, he'll make it work with the maths after the fact anyway.
You really ought to separate yourself from this guy if he behaves like this. All right, I get a chance to speak. Right, so the point is there's too much of the boat's hull missing to be accounted for by the random movement of the waves. I don't need to know the distance of the boat. I can see from the aspect ratio, as Ranty pointed out, the size of the containers, I could work out where the hull is going to be. Okay,
I'll just reverse that. I don't need to know the distances or anything about this photo to absolutely assert that this is absolutely and unequivocally impossible on a sphere. This image, you can't do it. Just doesn't work. Can't do it. It's only possible on a flat plane. Just to make that absolutely clear, this is a flat Earth proof 101. Thank you for joining and proving. Thank you for sharing it, and thank you for sharing it and proving that the Earth is flat, Rumpus. Thank you for proving the Earth is flat.
Your only response is to censor. It's the only thing you can do. You can't cope with the arguments. You have to stop them because they show up your idiocy. As I said, hello, Anthony.
Could I come back to you? Ranty derailed my point.
Yeah, Ranty was trying to ask me a question as well. Ranty was trying to ask me something.
Why is it that Rumpus completely has ignored my point, and yet you guys are just like, yeah, well, we want to argue our own points? Rumpus.
Well, okay, you make I'll stop talking. You make a point, then I'll answer it.
I've made it several times, but every time I do, you just talk continually, like you're doing now. Like you're doing now, and when I pop you on mute so that I can continue my sentence, you continue to talk in the Hangout non-stop, and then claim that I'm a rude person as a consequence of me just wanting to get to the end of a single point. My point is that without knowing any of the information about this picture...
You cannot believe what you're saying.
See, you're still talking. So I've taken you off mute just to show the audience what goes on while I talk. While I talk, Rumpus talks non-stop. That's what actually happens.
You ask me a question, then I'll...
I haven't asked you a question. I'm making a statement of fact. That statement, I would like you to...
Then I'll respond to it.
Right.
What's the statement?
Yeah, just shut your mouth for a moment, Rumpus, and I'll make it for about the fifth time.
You're muting me all the time. Don't tell me to shut up when you're muting me all the time.
Yeah, you're still doing it.
Go on then, make a statement and I'll respond.
Okay. So without knowing any of the information about this picture, Rumpus is prepared to assert that the obstruction is caused by Earth curvature. That's his assumption immediately, without any data, without knowing whether or not the boat should be completely visible on a sphere.
Correct. That's my point.
I was just getting too fast to run past Rumpus.
Right, am I going to be able to respond to this? Right,
yes, please.
The boat we know is a certain shape. We can know where the hull is from those containers and from basically knowledge of the boat. That hull is probably below those line of containers, as deep as the containers are high.
Sorry, probably? What do you mean, probably? Probability-wise, it should be? So we're basing this on a probability, are we?
Hello, am I going to be permitted to make... Oh, right. So the hull...
I heard the word probably.
Right, here we go. Yes, I don't know exactly. I can do an approximate...
Excellent. You don't know. That's my point. Even though you don't know, you're telling everybody that the boat's obscured by Earth curve.
All right, here we go, and I can know whereabouts
you don't know. You don't know, Rumpus. You're just asserting that it's blocked by Earth curve anyway. That's because you're a dogmatist. That's because you're disingenuous, and you'll basically say everything's curved, like Paul Voigt will say, everything is non-standard refraction.
You're a censor. You can't cope with the arguments, can you? You have to censor. You have to mute me to avoid the horrible reality that you're having to face.
So I start talking, and what I do to counteract the problem of you talking non-stop for 25 minutes whenever you're on any live show is when I'm talking, I make sure that you can't talk over me. That's not me censoring you, that's me talking, Rumpus. So when I'm talking, if you continue to talk, that's not censorship, that's your own stupidity.
You interrupt me, Nathan, every time I give you a response. Every time you interrupt me. You never let me finish a sentence.
So I've just let you finish that sentence. Now I'm talking. And what I'm watching is...
Doesn't challenge your position. You only let...
Rumpus talking continually, even though I'm in the middle of a sentence. So, Rumpus, you arrogant, rude twat. Try to shut your mouth while other people talk. That is called a conversation.
I have not been able to answer yet your statement you just made about a minute ago. Which
you answered it perfectly sufficiently. You told me that you didn't know. You told me it was a probability. You don't know, Rumpus. Yet you're still asserting that Earth curve's blocking the boat.
Speak on this subject. It's my turn. Right. Okay. So the hull of the boat, we can guess, well, within a reasonable area.
Sorry, why are we guessing?
Where it is going to be.
No, we're not guessing, Rumpus.
We're not.
We're not guessing.
Anthony, please don't.
No, he can interrupt you. When there's a gross error, as you said yesterday, Rumpus, it's perfectly acceptable to interrupt. It's a gross error on your part to guess.
We can tell from...
No, you are guessing because you don't know. Yet, like most disingenuous globers, you're prepared to stick your neck on the line and say it's curvature anyway, not knowing any of the information. You're declaring it's a globe and that it's obstructed by Earth curve. You don't know anything about the picture.
We can tell from this picture where the hull of the boat's going to be.
No, hang on, Rumpus. How can we tell when we don't know the distances? Because these boats...
Right, you don't need...
Guys.
Anthony, if you know the boat is...
No, finally, no. What Anthony's now doing is backing up the point that Rumpus has called me a twat for about 5 times. Yeah, basically, Anthony's now backing me up while I hold his toes to the fire. He has no idea how much should be obscured by Earth curve because he doesn't know the distance.
Nathan's trying to stop me answering Anthony's point. Right, Anthony's point is that because I don't know the distance to the boat, I can't work out where the hull is.
That's my point, and you called me a twat when I made it ages ago. You haven't addressed it, you've just confirmed the fact that you don't know this information, and now you've inserted this word, guess. Yeah, Rumpus, that's the problem.
I'm going to give it a go. Here we go. Right, so we know where the hull of the boat is, even without knowing the distance to it, because we know the shape of the boat. We know how much above the sea, above the horizon those containers are. We can therefore work out where the hull of the boat is below the horizon, and it's much too big to be accounted for by the random movement of the waves. Therefore, it cannot be on a flat Earth. Therefore, it has to be on a spherical Earth. And what's more, the amount that we're missing agrees with the spherical geometry maths. Case solved.
You don't know the spherical geometry maths if you don't know the distance of the boat. That's the point. You're just asserting it from incredulity. You have no idea how far the boat is. You've explained this to us.
I can work out where the hull of the boat is from the picture.
Rumpus, let me ask you this one question, then I'll give way.
Okay.
Them boats don't look that far away. What level of curvature would you expect to see on boats that don't look that far away? Because I bet you it's less than what appears to be on display on the screen.
But Anthony, do you not accept if we can see where the top of this boat is, we can work out where the bottom of it is relative to the horizon?
I don't care where you can work it out to. I want to know what the expected curvature is.
Well, hold on. Let's do 2 things. First, we need to work out where the hull of the boat is. Could you accept we can work that out?
We need to know how far they are to know what they expect.
No. The first step is to work out where the hull of the boat is. Do you think we can work that out from this picture?
The first step is distance. The second step is observer.
Okay. But do you accept we can work out from this picture where the hull of the boat is?
I'm not interested in that. I want to know what the expected curvature is on a spherical Earth.
Anthony, you might not be interested, but do you agree we can work out where the hull of the boat is from this picture?
I want to know what the expected curvature is.
Please answer my question, Anthony. If you answer mine, I'll answer your question.
I want to know what the expected curvature is on a spherical Earth.
Right.
Can you tell me that, please?
I tell you what I can do. If I work out where the hull is...
No. Hang on, wait a minute.
Anthony, if I can work out where the hull is, I can tell you the distance to it, in fact.
I could tell you. Anthony,
I could tell you the distance
give me a second.
From the position of the hull.
I'll give way to Ranty, seeing as though you've not answered my question. Ranty, Mike.
Right, thank you. Right, guys, they say that the elevation was 10 meters in, you know, he was elevated at 10 meters when he took this video. Yeah. So obviously that's just a guesstimate, but that's what he suggests.
Above
10
sea
meters.
level.
Yeah. So when he took this with his P900, his elevation above sea level was 10 meters. So when we check this on Google, on the Metabunk website, distance to the horizon is 7 miles away, right? Okay. Now, as we assume that this boat is probably quite far zoom in, you would imagine, and the boat is relatively close to the horizon. What we're going to say, about 6.5 miles. Would you suggest?
Making stuff up. How do you know these
I know
things?
we're making. Listen. I'm asking you to bear with me on this.
Okay,
right?
You're guessing.
Right. He is.
Yeah, that was the point I made to you a second ago, Rumpus. It seems like your standards are so unbelievably double. It's unreal.
Right.
You're an idiot, Nathan. If you think that.
Let me just finish my point, please. You can see that this is the same type of cargo boat, right? It's the same kind of boat. Now look how large this is in relation to the one in the background. Now we're talking angular size now. So when this rises out of the water in a moment, and you get an idea of the hull size, which is tiny in comparison to this one. Now the angular size would say that is probably at least 4 times further away than the boat in the near ground. And if that's at 6.5 miles away, that boat must be 25 miles away. So all of the boat should be gone anyway.
Well, no, you're guessing as to how much. Well, you're making all sorts of assumptions.
But you want to guess as to where the hull should be.
You just said that you could tell how far away these boats are.
Yes,
right?
I can, and I could do the way I would do that. Hold on. The way I would do that is to look at those containers, see the angular size of them, and then I could work out from that because I know the size of the containers, I can see their angle here with respect to the horizon, and I could work out how far that was away from that calculation with respect to the horizon. So I could do that calculation. I could work out how far it is away by doing that. Similarly, I can work out where the hull is.
You see, unlike you, I do a lot of filming around the oceans and seas, and I know how far these boats are away. And when you're zooming in with a P900, you know how close relatively he is to the horizon. That's why I gave it a 6.5 mile distance to this boat.
Yeah, but Ranty, you get everything wrong, 100% wrong.
Oh, everything wrong, right? Okay. So how far?
Don't know maths.
Wait a minute. How far away is it then?
Okay, well, let's look at this
quickly.
He's just asked you a question, direct question, Rumpus. Please, can you answer him? He's asked you how far away the boat is.
Questions, you know.
I could work this out. So that container.
That's not what he asked. He didn't ask you if you could work it out. He asked how far away it was.
And I would do that by working it out.
So, do you know the answer to the question, yes or no? How far away it is? Give me a number.
Okay, you have to give me a few minutes to go find out.
So you don't have that number now, even though you've already made your assertions, right? You've made your assertions, but you don't have that number.
I don't need to know how far it is away to know the hull is well below the surface of the...
Yeah, you don't need to know the maths of a sphere to see that it's obscured. It's a video. What's obvious and observable on the screen doesn't get you out of this little pickle, you stupid moron. You don't know the distance to the boat, you stupid idiot.
The waves are not obscuring the hull of the boat.
Yes, the waves are obscuring the boat. That has been demonstrated, and you came in and said point 1. That was your first point that we all agreed on, something that had been demonstrated, obvious and observable. The waves do obscure the hull.
They add to it. They're the minor, they're insignificant in comparison to the curve of the Earth that's obscuring
the
hull.
The curve that we don't have any proof for, you don't have any scientific evidence for, you just assert, and you don't even know the mathematics in this instance, you pathetic little man. You don't even know how far it is.
We can see it's well below the
yeah, we can see. Yeah, we can see too. We've got the picture up on screen, but you don't know the distance, you pathetic moron. Yeah, it's good fun. Good fun. You have a good laugh. When I hold your toes to the fire, you seem to giggle now like a little girl. You stutter. Maybe you had some voice and speech therapy about your stutter. But it seems now that when I have your toes against the fire, you giggle like a little girl. Yeah, there it is again. There's your little girly giggle. You don't know the distances, you moron. You don't know the distances, you moron. I'll do your trick. You don't know the distances, you moron. You don't know the distances, you moron. You don't know the distances. You don't know how much curve there should be there, you moron.
Funny, Nathan. This is proof of the spherical Earth, and
this is proof of the flat Earth. It absolutely destroys the globe. You can't have this on the globe.
Of the spherical Earth.
This is absolutely proof of a flat Earth. You can't do this on a globe. There's waves obscuring it because it's flat. That's the conclusion. I don't need to know any information about it in the same way Rumpus doesn't need to know any information about the distances to assert that it proves the flat Earth. It does. Not possible on a globe, I'm afraid, Rumpus. Thank you for coming on and proving the Earth is flat. Very handy.
This picture proves the Earth.
Proves the Earth is flat. That's correct, Rumpus. I completely and utterly agree with you. I mean, you. Really, so we got back to the stutter. The voice and speech therapy has obviously failed. Let's see if we can get you giggling again. You don't know the distances, you moron.
Don't know, you moron.
You don't know the distances, you moron.
I can see the hull of the boat is well.
Yeah, we all know what we can see. We're not blind. What we also know is you don't know the maths. You don't know how much should be obscured. You don't know whether it's Earth curve. You don't know anything because you're a moron who doesn't know the distances.
Do not account for the missing part of the hull.
You don't know the distances, you moron. How can you assert that the hull should be obscured by Earth curve if you don't know the distances, you moron?
Do not account for the missing part of the hull, therefore.
Yeah, they do. Point one, when you came in, waves are obscuring the hull. It's obvious and observable, demonstrated by Ranty, conceded by you in your first point when you came on.
The waves add to what's missing, but they don't.
Correct. The waves do add to the obstruction, therefore the waves are causing obstruction as obvious and observable in the images, and demonstrated by Ranty and conceded by you when you came in. However, the second point that you made, the Earth curve's obscuring them, you don't even know the distances, you moron.
I don't need to, you moron.
Yeah, you do. You do need to know the distances, you moron. Your curve is based on a mathematical formula, you moron. If you don't know the distances, you can't calculate it, you moron.
I can see from the picture.
Yeah, we can all see from the picture that there's obstruction caused by waves. Your assertion that it's caused by Earth curve is backed up by absolutely nothing. In this instance, it's so pathetic as to not even be backed up by maths, and you've had to use the words guess, because you don't know. What a pathetic little weasel Rumpus has turned into over these few weeks. He's turned from somebody who seems credible to literally a guy who comes on and guesses stuff. I guess it's the curve. It could be the curve. We don't need to know the distances. We don't need to know the maths anymore. I'll just come on and say it's a sphere.
It's very obvious to our viewers what he's doing. Censoring isn't going to work.
No, talking.
So
Rumpus.
Anthony,
What I'm doing is talking. That's what I'm doing, talking. Not censoring. When I talk, you listen. If you don't want to listen, sod off. If you want to talk continually while I talk, you don't get to be heard. That's my show. So if you talk continually, it doesn't mean I'm censoring you. It means I'm talking and you're talking as well. But you can guess who's going to get heard in that situation. It ain't going to be you.
Anthony, go ahead.
Right. You say that we don't need to know the distances to calculate the expected drop on the geometric shape of the Earth.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that, Anthony. Let me finish let me just explain in a sentence. We can work out from the picture where the hull is relative to the horizon. Then I can then know from the boat, I could actually work out the distance of the boat. From knowing the qualities of that boat, I could then say, right, this much of the hull is obscured. I can then say, that much, hold on, Nancy, please let me finish the sentence. And then I can say, because we've got that much missing, I can then work out how far it is away.
Right, point taken. I understand. You're rearranging the formula. I understand what you're doing.
Right. Well done,
however, how could we prove that that was correct without knowing what the actual distance was? Because if you calculated, for example, it must be 6.6 miles away, but it turned out that it was 3 miles away, or it turned out that it was 10 miles away, that would then not support your mathematical assumption, correct?
Yes.
So how could we conclude with any reasonable certainty that your calculations were matching the real world when it comes to the calculated distance if we don't know its actual distance to validate it?
Well, obviously we don't have that information. I would have to,
there you go.
Right, you pathetic moron. So you'd need to go and get that information, wouldn't you, thicko, before you start asserting that we see Earth curve, you stupid moron. You stupid disingenuous twat. Don't you get it, thicko? You can't start using your presuppositional maths unless you actually know the distance in the first place. You moron.
You projecting.
Not projecting, stating facts. If you want to use a presuppositional mathematical equation that is based on us being on a sphere to begin with, not that that's the most pathetic straw man shitty argument in existence, but if you want to do it, the least you can do is actually find out the bloody distance, you moron.
Swearing. We don't need to know the distance to work out where the hull is in respect with
work it out so that you can use your presuppositional maths.
confirm that
We
you're
can
right.
work out where the hull of that boat is with respect to the horizon without knowing anything about the distance to it.
Yeah,
we can
but unless
see
you
from
can
the
prove
picture.
that the distance matches real world, Rumpus, you're working it out based on an assumption. You
Yeah,
don't
it's got
know that the
presuppositional maths that he wants to do an extrapolation to reverse engineer his presuppositional maths to get to the conclusion that we're on a sphere. So yeah, you've got a presuppositional mathematics equation, and in this instance you're so arrogant as you can't even be asked to go out and get the distances to the things you're measuring. You're just going to reverse engineer your own maths. Before long we won't even need an observation. We won't even need the photograph. Rumpus will just say, doesn't matter, it's just curve.
So we have agreed we can work out where the hull of that boat is with respect to the horizon. Brilliant.
No,
What
we haven't
have
agreed that.
Rumpus, but there is a but. If we work out where the hull is meant to be, that then requires us to rearrange the formula to calculate the distance that boat must be at if we're at a ball. The bit we don't agree on is if you calculate, for example, it's 6.7 miles away, without knowing what its actual distance is, we have no way of knowing whether that's verified maths and science or not. We have to take your word for it based on the assumption that you've rearranged the formula, therefore the boat can only be this distance, and it might not be. You can't prove one way, neither can I.
But it invalidates the flat Earth.
No, it doesn't. So this picture actually, as I keep pointing out, invalidates the globe Earth. It's only possible on a flat Earth. You can't do this on a globe, Rumpus. I'm just going to assert that like you're about to assert it. This is only possible on a flat plane.
It's not a sentence, Rumpus. It's a chant. It's a religious chant.
No, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. So, Anthony, you can, from the position of the hull, invalidate the flat Earth. It invalidates the flat Earth. It can.
So the waves waving in front of the very close to the water level lens proves that it's not possible on a sphere and only possible on a flat plane. Every time you do it, Rumpus, I'll just insert the same exact bullshit.
Flat Earth geometry does not allow the hull of the boat to be...
Globe Earth geometry isn't applicable here because you don't know the distances, you stupid little man.
Flat Earth geometry does not allow the hull of the boat to be...
Yeah, Globe Earth maths isn't applicable if you don't know the distances, you pathetic moron.
You can work out that the hull of the...
Yeah, we don't care about what you can work out and back engineer using the exact presuppositional formula, you stupid idiot.
You can't have the hull of the boat where it is on a flat Earth. You cannot.
Listen, let's take this through slowly.
Hold on, you made a sentence. Let me just make that point again. You cannot have the hull of the boat where it appears to be in that photograph on a flat Earth.
You cannot have the hull of that boat where it's in that position on a globe Earth. It's only possible on a flat plane.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. Where the hull...
It is absolutely, unequivocally only possible on a flat plane. This is an absolute slam dunk, flat Earth proof. It's not possible on a sphere.
You cannot have the hull where it is on a flat Earth.
You cannot have the hull where it is on a globe Earth.
I told you how you can do it.
Hold on, Anthony. Nathan just made a claim. How do you justify that claim, Nathan?
It was done when you conceded in the first point, so it's obscured by the... you see, that's Rumpus doing exactly what he's projecting onto me. Being a twat. Talking over me. He's asked me a direct question. I've started answering. He can't help himself. He's got verbal diarrhea and a projection disorder. That's what he's got. So try and control yourself. Try and calm down, Rumpus. I know you're very agitated about this flat Earth proof you've brought to us.
You're the only agitated one here. Carry on.
No, I'm not agitated. I'm saying the exact opposite of you. When you tell the audience that this is only possible on a globe, I'm just going to say it's only possible on a flat plane. With absolutely nothing to back it up, like you've got absolutely nothing to back it up. You don't even know the distances, you moron.
Prove that.
You don't know the distances, you moron.
Justify your claim that this can't happen on a spherical Earth.
You can't justify your claim that it works on a globe. You've just decided that you will back-engineer your presuppositional maths equation to work out the distance because you don't know it. You pathetic moron. You pathetic, disingenuous moron.
Justify your claim this can't happen on a spherical Earth.
Yeah, I've already said it. Point 1, there is waves obscuring it. That is the obstruction. That's all we need to say. No other presuppositional maths need to be done. No distances need to be measured. It is obvious and observable what is obscuring the bottom of the boat. The
waves will have to be 50 feet high.
Sorry, we went through this earlier, Rumpus. They're clearly not. You can see they're not 50 feet high, proving it's not a sphere. proving that we don't have Earth curve in the way, proving that very small things in the near foreground can block smaller things that by perspective look like they are the same size as a 3-inch wave. You can have that by virtue of them being closer to the lens.
Your brain's a stutterer. No, those waves cannot account for the obscuring of the hull. They can only...
Yeah, they do, and you came in and conceded it the first thing you did. Point 1, waves are unequivocally obscuring that hull, as demonstrated and conceded by you.
Anthony, we know where the hull of the boat is.
No, my name's Nathan.
The waves are not going up and down by that amount.
My name's Nathan.
It cannot be the waves. It's quite...
Yeah, Ranty demonstrated it. The guy who's filming it's really close to the level of the water. That's why the boat in the foreground is so low. Ultimately speaking, things that are small and close to you can obscure things that are big but look smaller in the distance if they are close to the lens. That was demonstrated by Ranty and conceded by you in your first opening gambit.
I didn't quite catch that, Anthony.
Right, listen, Rumpus. The thing is, if you're going to calculate where the bottom of the boat should be, and then backwards, you're going to rearrange the formula to work out what the distance must be. I accept that we can calculate where the bottom of the boat should be. However, I do not accept that we can calculate the distance because we can't verify the distance to be true after the calculation is done. Doing the calculation isn't enough.
Okay, there are two parts to that. First of all, we can establish in the picture where the hull of the boat is. We can establish by looking at the size of the... Great. So
but
that means...
can I respectfully point out...
Anthony, I'll let you finish your point.
Wait.
Hold on, Anthony, let me finish my point.
No, hang on. Last night, in your hangout, you would not let me do the same task.
I did. I would let you speak as long as you wanted in my hangout. I never, ever stopped you from speaking.
No, so you stopped me from... You would not let me deduce what I wanted to deduce because...
I was happy.
Anthony,
Anthony, you decided to leave. I never got rid of you. I was happy for you to carry on.
No, you're not listening to me, Rumpus.
You
would not let me extrapolate from the image where the base should be. You wanted it to be precise and calculated.
Yes, because you didn't know how to do that. You did not know how to apply perspective. You did not know how to do the maths to do what you wanted. You were just going to guess. So yes.
You do not know the distance to this boat. You're just going to extrapolate it. You haven't got a clue how far it is. You don't know.
Hold on. He's making a different point. The point is, on the picture, Anthony...
In your hangout, you would not let me extrapolate out the bottom of where the mountain should be. You wanted it to be calculated. Yes. Why should we allow you to extrapolate the base of the hull when we can't prove it? Well, you can calculate it, sure, but that's not going to be proving it.
But Anthony, surely you can accept we can see how much above the horizon the boat is. Therefore, we can work out where the hull is below the horizon.
I can, but what I'm pointing out is that in your hangout, you wouldn't let me do the same thing. I'm saying is double standards.
What I'm suggesting we both agree on. We both agree we can work out where the hull is. I mean, I'm sure even Ranty would accept.
No, we don't.
We can agree where the hull is.
Ranty, who gets everything wrong, would be able to work out where the hull of the boat is on that picture.
Work out where the hull is.
So we could all agree on how you would do that, which is different from what
we could all agree on that, yes.
Great. So we could work out that the hull of the boat is well below the horizon, and that's not accounted for by the waves. So we can dismiss
and then the next bit. Hang on. The next bit then is what?
Yes, that's the next bit. Right. But hold on, Anthony. I just want to make sure we're agreed on the first stage. Let's try and do this in stages.
Yes, we agree on the first stage.
And that cannot be accounted for by the waves, which is what Nathan is claiming.
No, not the next stage. The next stage is to backward. You're going to have to rearrange the formula to work out what the distance must be to match the sphericity of the Earth.
Yeah, but correct. Actually, we can make a conclusion from the first stage. We can do.
So you're going to make a conclusion based on back engineering a mathematical calculation that presupposes you're already on a sphere. That's what you're saying, Rumpus. You're going to use your calculation that already thinks you're on a sphere to back engineer a proof that you're on a sphere. That's what you're going to do.
No, I don't.
That is called begging the question on steroids. So back engineering the distance so that you can put it into a calculation that already assumes you're on a sphere is called begging the question. Assuming the outcome, which is precisely what my point when Rumpus kept calling me a twat was, that without even knowing anything, literally before calculating a damn thing, Rumpus is prepared to beg the question and automatically assume the outcome. He automatically assumed that the bottom of this boat is obscured by Earth curve, and he knew absolutely nothing about it other than what was presented on the screen. So Rumpus is prepared to beg the question at every single opportunity. He doesn't need information. He'll back engineer his own presuppositional mathematics to come to his conclusion.
Don't need spherical geometry to prove where the hull of the boat is. I do not need to use spherical geometry to do that. Ranty, Anthony, and myself could all work out where the hull of that boat is just from the image, and it's too low to be accounted for by the waves. It can only be accounted for by curvature of the Earth.
Total nonsense. You can only account for it on a flat plane using the waves as an obstruction. You don't have any clue how much should or shouldn't be obscured by this Earth curvature because you don't know the distances and you haven't calculated them yet. Yet you're still prepared to beg the question and assert to my audience over and over again that it's being caused by Earth curve, even though you haven't calculated it yet. You beg the question.
I don't need to know the distance to the boat. I don't need to know the distance to the boat.
You're a believer.
To work out where the hull is.
You're a religious dogmatist.
I don't need to know the
You're a religious dogmatist. Even without knowing a single piece of information about this boat or why it's obscured, you're prepared to go out on a limb and say it's caused by Earth curvature. And then if it is or isn't, it doesn't matter because you'll back calculate it with the maths.
I don't need to know the distance of the boat to work out where the hull is in the picture. And from
sorry, we're not talking about the hull in the picture. We're talking about Earth curve that you're about to assume with the maths that you use.
No, I don't know.
That extraction for. So you will take that distance and you'll plug it into a mathematical formula that already assumes you're on a curve. So it's begging the question. The fact that you're prepared to extrapolate out the distance so you can beg the question is absolutely pathetic. It's pathetic, Rumpus.
I don't need to know the distance to the boat to work out where the hull is.
You're intellectually dishonest, Rumpus. That's the bottom line here. You're intellectually dishonest and a moron.
That you actually make mistakes and you don't have everything 100% right, and we don't have everything 100% wrong. Like you constantly drone on every single time, like some sort of confidence chant.
Well, because I based everything on evidence and maths and science.
Other than this, he just came in and begged the question. He didn't have any mathematics for this observation whatsoever. Didn't know a thing about it, but still came in and asserted that it was Earth curve.
We can work out where the hull of the boat is.
Yeah, we can going forward. The point being you haven't, and yet you've still asserted it's Earth curve, Rumpus.
I know where the hull of the boat is in.
Yeah, we know what's in the observation too. We can look at it. You haven't calculated anything. You don't know the distances, yet you have still asserted it's Earth curve that's obscuring the bottom of the hull based on what you can do going forward.
I don't
really do.
No, I don't.
Yes,
Not to work out where the hull of the boat is. I do not need to know the distance. I can work out in the picture, and anybody else in this hangout could do the same.
Yeah, and all that tells us is that it's obscured. It doesn't tell us what is obscuring it or why it's being obscured. All it tells us is that it's obscured. We can all see that, Rumpus. None of us are blind.
Good. Right.
Good, yeah. So, when you come to actually insert your mathematics that you want to apply assumes you're on a curve.
Sorry, I've just got a message. Right, sorry. Yes,
Yes, you assume you're on a curve. So that is called begging the question.
No, it's not. You can.
Yes, it is the definition of begging the question. You are going to use a mathematical formula that assumes the outcome before you have any data. It already assumes that you're going to be doing this on a sphere. Therefore, the mathematics will obviously come out with the conclusion that you want them to because it assumes the outcome.
Come on, Nathan. Let's see you work out where the hull of the boat is in that picture. Let's do that.
Yeah, it's just completely ignored me. So I've pointed out that he's using a logical fallacy. When he works out the distance, regardless of how he works it out, he will still insert that into a presuppositional mathematical formula that already assumes the outcome.
Would you like me to do live to work out where the hull of the position...
See, he keeps going on about this hull. Again, twice he's ignored me. You're going to work out the hull, and then you're going to work out the distance, and then you can plug it into a mathematical formula that already assumes the outcome.
No, it doesn't. Would you...
Yes, it does. That's what your outcome does. That's what your mathematical formula is designed to do. That's the point of your mathematical formula. It's based on a sphere. It automatically assumes you're on a sphere. That's what the maths does. It's not useful to prove anything. It's begging the question. It's just a fallacious piece of maths you guys use to prove anomalies. That's all you do.
Hey, I'm asking you to do it. If you think I would get it wrong, I'm asking you to show us where you think the hull of that boat is in that picture.
Where I think the hull is, it's obscured by waves.
Where would you put the...
Can't see it. It's obscured by waves. Only possible on a flat plane, totally impossible on a globe.
Could you please show us where you think the hull of that boat is in that picture?
You can't see it. It's obscured by the waves that are in the foreground, small and just slightly higher than the perspective impression of the smaller boat in the background. So although they're not 40-foot waves, because they're closer, they can obscure 40 foot of something that is much smaller in the distance. That's how perspective works.
Right, Nathan, could you draw in on that picture where you think the hull of the boat is, or you'd like me to do it?
No, I don't need to. There's no necessity to.
Right.
My explanation does not require that. Your explanation requires you to get to the stage where you have enough maths to use your presuppositional mathematical formula that already assumes you're on a sphere to prove you're on a sphere. That's what you need to do. That's why you keep banging on about where the hull is.
Optics are, you're an idiot. Right.
Now he's into the ad homs. That's what Rumpus does, you see. When he's got his toes to the fire, he's got a few little tells. Ad homs, that's his go-to. When he's really got his toes to the fire, that's when he starts giggling like a schoolgirl. If he gets really bad, he'll start accusing me of projection as he talks over me continually.
Nathan is scared of working out where the hull of that boat is. I hope we all saw that. And because he knows it's invalidating the flat Earth.
So I know for a fact that this validates the flat Earth and destroys the globe Earth. It's absolutely a slam dunk, basically. It's not possible on a sphere. I can just assert that over and over again too. I don't need any maths. I don't need to know the distances. I can and have, well, Ranty has, demonstrated that this is an effect of perspective.
An evidence denier. You're scared of where the hull will be. You can work out where the hull is without worrying about perspective, because the top of the boat is also subject to perspective, and therefore the bottom is as well. So you can work out where the hull is without having to worry about perspective.
Just check the shipping route.
Where's the cumulative drop, Rumpus? Where is that part?
Right,
because that's still missing.
Can I explain? I'll explain this to Marvin. Hold on.
Yeah,
Ranty,
where is it?
Ranty, hold on to your question. I'll just answer
It's below the refraction zone. It's in the hidden zone.
Ranty, if you could hold on to your question, I'll answer whatever you're asking me, and I'll just respond to Arwen. Sorry, Ranty. I'll come back to you. Please, I won't forget you. So, Arwen, we can work out without having to worry about this cumulative drop or anything. We can see from the picture where how much of the top of the boat we can see. Therefore, we can work out where the bottom of the boat is from knowledge of those containers and from the shape of the boat. We can draw a line around that in that picture where the hull of the boat's going to be, and we can see that it's way below the horizon. Ranty, what did you want to ask me?
Yeah,
I said if you check the
in the water. It's in the water. It's actually below the horizon because it's in the water.
Let me answer Ranty's question.
Are you shut up now, Arwen, or what?
Me?
Yeah. I've tried to get a word in for the last 5 minutes. You've not shut up.
Right, go ahead, Ranty.
Yeah, if you check the shipping routes, you'll find that the shipping routes do actually come in quite close to what I actually said. So the horizon being around about, 7 miles away, you have the shipping routes that come in there, and the ones going south are about 25 miles away. So from his Wollongong position going from left to right, he is actually going south. So that shipping route is about 25 miles away, which puts that boat at about 25 miles away, which curvature calcs say it all should be hidden. So the fact that we're actually even seeing it, I mean, without actually knowing, I've asked him and left a message on his video to ask for an exact time and date, but I'm actually looking at the live tracking now of the cargo vessels in that area, and they do seem to travel around about 25 miles due east of Wollongong.
Right. Okay. So let's do the calcs then. So you're saying that the distance to that boat is, did you say 25 miles?
25 miles, yeah.
Okay. And the observer height is
10 meters.
10 meters, great.
You didn't need to do that, Rumpus.
Okay. So what should be obscured should be 52 meters. That's
nearly 200 feet.
It's 150 feet. Yes.
Yeah, slightly, you know.
What a wally. What a complete and utter twat to assert that the obstruction is Earth curve when the whole damn thing should be missing behind your stupid Earth curve. Do you see now, Rumpus? Do you see now, Rumpus, why it's important to know the distances so you don't get humiliated on a show like this? Because basically you've just been made to look like the biggest dick there is.
Okay, so we need to establish...
Yeah, okay, you've been made to look an absolute fool by Ranty.
Yeah, nice.
Every single time Ranty and I get into confrontation, Ranty's wrong 100% of the time, and he's going to be wrong again. So the distance of this boat is 100%. Sorry.
Well, hang on, wait a minute. We just did the angular size before, and we did the distance to the horizon at 10 meters, and I roughly guessed about 25 miles. And then I go to the GPS live tracking of marine traffic, where right now I'm looking at the boat Teresa Micronesia, which is a cargo vessel heading south, which is 25 miles due east of Wollongong.
Yeah, but you've mistaken one boat for another on so many occasions.
100% right. You're the one that's wrong.
Arwen, Arwen, do you realise that we're relying on Ranty's estimation of the distance of the boat? If that's wrong...
Yeah, I trust his estimation skills a lot more than yours, Rumpus.
Yeah, that's because you're an idiot and you're invested on his...
He's straight into the ad homs. Rumpus has just been humiliated. You know, he's guessed that it's obstruction caused by Earth curve. It may be the case that the entire thing should be gone. It may not be the case. The point is that without knowing a damn thing, Rumpus is prepared to come on and say that the bottom of this boat is obscured by Earth curve, and he doesn't know the distance to it.
You don't need to know the distance to work out where the hull of the boat is.
Except you do.
No, you don't. Alwyn, I explained to you that 2 minutes ago how you
keep on digging this hole, Rumpus.
So you could... so you're going to do this with
If you're going to keep on digging, you're going to end up in China.
Arwen, can you not see what the procedure would be to work out where the hull of this boat is? You don't need to worry about accumulated drop. You can work out where the hull of the boat is from the knowledge of those containers on top of the boat. Do you understand how to do that?
So what's his zoom level on the? What's his zoom level on the camera? What's his zoom on the camera? What zoom has he got it in? Exactly. So you cannot do it pixels.
I can. What I can? Oh, I can.
No, you can't.
Right.
You cannot.
Okay. Would you like me to show you live how you would do this?
You may be able to do it, Rumpus. The point is simple. You haven't done it, and yet you're still asserting that it's Earth curve prior to actually calculating it.
Because it's impossible for the hull to be where it is on a flat Earth.
See? Because you've got a dogmatic view of the world. So without actually calculating anything, your view is this is impossible on a flat plane, therefore it must be curvature. That's called dogma. You don't know anything about the observation other than what's on screen, and we've all seen it. Yet you know instinctively, don't you, Rumpus? Without doing a damn thing, you already know it's curve, right? You stupid idiot. You stupid idiot. You dogmatic idiot.
Ranty and I...
No. I guess the distance to the boat.
Yeah, I know, but Ranty, come on. You know that even you could work out where the hull of that boat is from the size of those containers and the shape of the boat. You could do that, and just about anybody could. So
no, not without knowing the name of the boat, because they're all different designs on the boat.
Agree. I would agree with you there, yes.
So you cannot, without knowing the name of the boat, be able to say that this is the boat and this is what it should look like and this is how much is hidden, because they're all different shapes, designs and lengths and all sorts.
Right, but we do have the size of the containers and we can see where it goes down to the top of the hull level. We can therefore...
Well, that makes no difference. You still wouldn't know what the depth of the hull is.
I would agree that you wouldn't know for sure, but we presumably could, if we could work that out.
Well, you can.
Excellent. A concession. We don't know. Rumpus doesn't know how big this hull is, yet he still knows that it's Earth curve blocking it, right, Rumpus?
I could do it to a reasonable degree that would be satisfactory.
Oh, it's reasonable now, is it? No, I thought we had to be accurate. What happened to accuracy? Not within a reasonable degree. What about an accurate degree? Oh no, it doesn't matter. You can just dogmatically come on and say it's Earth curve anyway, right, Rumpus? It doesn't matter what you measure or what's reasonable. It's always Earth curve, isn't it, according to dogmatist Rumpus?
I could believe I could get the hull within...
You do believe. You're just a believer. You believe it's Earth curve, so you assert it's Earth curve. That's what a dogmatist is. Your belief trumps everything. You believe it's Earth curve, and that's all you've got. A belief. You've got a belief that's supported by 2,000 years with no proof.
Yeah, that's the bit that I would...
Do you know what the draft was? Because the draft put what weight the boat was carrying. So obviously, if it's got more weight, it's going to be lower down. So you don't know any of this.
You're absolutely right on that one, Ranty. I accept that, but I...
So Rumpus knows absolutely nothing about this observation. Doesn't know the weight of the boat, doesn't know what boat is, doesn't know the distance to it, but he's still prepared to dogmatically assert that it's Earth curve blocking the bottom of it. How unbelievably pathetic is Rumpus. This is probably the saddest thing I've ever seen from the Rumpus. It is unbelievably pathetic, Rumpus. Do you hear me? Are you just talking non-stop while I'm pointing out how sad and pathetic you are?
Makes a controversial issue, he's always wrong. So, yes.
Okay.
He's talking non-stop, of course.
We can work out where... When we can see it's fully loaded.
Yeah, I kind of remember you just doing the calculation for where that boat's supposed to be. And then, yeah, you were pretty much made to look like a fool. Because it should be pretty much all concealed behind the curvature. And it's not.
No. Erwin, you
proceed to say, "Oh, see, it doesn't work out on the flat Earth."
That's
but
based on his estimate.
In practical sense, it doesn't work out on the ball. How does it?
It's based on his estimate of 25 miles. That's going to be wrong.
You just did the calculations. You just did it right there. And guess what? It doesn't work out to what you're seeing.
It's based on his measurement, Arwin.
No, it's based on the actual distance.
No,
distance that you accepted and that he confirmed.
He did not confirm that.
Yes, he did. He looked it up.
Neither did you confirm that it's Earth curve that's obscuring it, Rumpus. You haven't confirmed that. You've just come on and doggedly asserted it.
Idiots. If you believe that just because Ranty has said it's 25 miles, that makes it 25 miles an hour.
And if you believe that the Earth is obscuring the bottom of this boat just because Rumpus has come on and asserted it, then you're a complete moron like he is.
Right, the thing is, cargo vessels have a route that they normally follow, and they go within a couple of miles of it all the time, there and back, the quickest way to go. So if you're seeing boats go through the same lane, it's a shipping lane, and it is 25 miles away, you can pretty much guarantee that the boat in the background was that particular boat at 25 miles away.
Well, I tell you, I could have a go at doing it live, working out how far it is away from the size of those containers. I could probably have a reasonable go.
Okay, I would like to actually see you try and do this. Right, let's go on.
I mean, it's quite demanding. It might take a good
about 60 seconds left.
I don't think it would matter a lot if it's 1 mile further or closer. Really,
well,
it still should be behind that curvature.
You've done the calculations, have you?
That it's not.
You've done the calculations, have you, Arwin? No, you haven't, have you?
No, I just heard you do the.
Yeah, you just heard me. Yes,
and so you're basing the result of
so
that
not only are you basing it on Ranty
should
claims,
be
but then based
behind
on my
the curve,
and now
almost completely, and it's not.
You've got proof based on what Ranty claims and my calculations with that proof. If you regard that as proof, you're an idiot, and this is why you get everything wrong, like Ranty. But I could try.
Oh yeah, here we go again. Everything wrong. No, Rumpus.
I could try.
You're turning it around.
I could try live using some techniques, try and work out how far the boat is away, but it might take about 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, we want to see your mental gymnastic videos. That would be lovely.
Well, I think people get bored when I do lots of maths, so you might not be interested. Perhaps.
Yeah, you can be damn skippy about that. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!